So first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for being here, and I'd like to point out that just like in our classrooms, there's a lack of people sitting up here towards the front, and boy, those back rows are pretty full. So just wanted to point that out, because we're always telling our students, come on, let's move forward, come on, let's participate here, let's move forward. So obviously they learned it from someone, probably us, as far as their habits go. Welcome. My name is Celeste Carter. I am in the Division of Undergraduate Education at the National Science Foundation, and I have the privilege of being one of the lead program directors on the Advanced Technological Education program. And I promised I would only do 2 slides, so I really think I have 3, but I'm only going to show you 2. I am a community college faculty member. I spent 16 years at Foothill College developing and running a biotechnology program here in the Bay Area. So, so when I moved to NSF permanently, little less than 4 years ago, it was a real privilege to step into the ATE program. I had been funded by the ATE program as well. And I'm a real proponent, and I continue to advocate at all times for the critical and crucial roles that community colleges play in the educational system in the United States. So with a very brief introduction, I'm just going to say there's been lots of things going on around budget discussions in Washington, D.C. There were just 2 programs that I really want to point out to you as being crucial for you to look at. One is the Advanced Technological Education Program, ATE. The other is Scholarships in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics program, the STEM program. There are other programs, but given the discussions that are underway and the president's rollout of his budget request, I think there's going to be a lot of discussions about what happens with educational programs sort of across the whole federal government. And I feel very safe in telling you that you should look at these 2, and maybe not so safe in discussing some of the other possible programs. So please look at these. ATE focuses on technician education, so a lot of those we have in the back. The ATE Centers book you can pick up. You can see the breadth of things that ATE covers. It's a program that focuses on industry and education partnerships. Another handout that's in the back for you later, our final speaker is the president from Mount San Antonio College, and he has a handout. So just early on, sort of, if you want to get those and get them in your hands early, please do. The STEM Scholarship Program is one that I like to talk about because it funds academically talented, financially needy students. And I know that in every community college across the United States, we have a large pool of those students. So you can support students up to the cost of attendance with this program. It's definitely worth looking at. All right. This just reiterates some of what I had already said about ATE. Community colleges have leadership roles on all projects and centers. It's a program that is now entering its 20th year. So we're going to have a big celebration this fall, looking forward at what we still have to do, but also celebrating the successes of what has happened in the past 20 years. We are a program that's involved in educating a quality STEM technical workforce, and you're going to hear about some of the impacts of these programs shortly. And it also, again, focuses on these industry partnerships. So those are the only slides I have. We have a panel of distinguished presidents, vice presidents to talk with us today about what has happened, what they have observed through having federal funds. And I'm just going to very briefly introduce them by name and let them tell you about themselves. And please, as they speak, I'd like to get questions from all of you. I've got a few to sort of kick off a discussion, but I'd love to have you guys asking questions. And let me ask one question. First of all, how many in here have had funding from any federal source? Okay, so in a way, you guys know what this is about, but think of more questions. Think of challenges and things that you've run into that you would like to ask these panelists. So we have Dr. Paula Boyum from Bellevue College. She's the Vice President of Workforce Development. Will start speaking initially. Dr. Annette Parker is filling in for her chancellor from the Kentucky and Community and Technical System. And so she will be speaking second. And finally, we have Dr. Bill Scroggins from Mount San Antonio College here in Southern California. And I'm going to turn it over to Paula and see if we can switch this out. Okay, move that guy up. Do that. And slideshow. All right.
Thank you so much. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Very pleased to be here. Celeste invited me to serve on this panel when I saw her at the NSF PI conference in the fall, and I was delighted to do so. I was sitting in the audience just a few years ago when the AACC meeting was held in Seattle, and it was a very enlightening panel, so I'm really honored to have been invited to participate today. I'm at Bellevue College, and I've been there about 12 years, and I had the good fortune when I arrived it used to be Bellevue Community College until a few years ago. When I arrived at Bellevue College, we already were in NSF ATE Center, and it's just been an absolutely wonderful experience in my 12 years at the college, and applying for and receiving different NSF grants, as well as leveraging our NSF funding to bring in additional funding, which I'll talk a little bit about. Just so you, if you're not familiar, where Bellevue is, it's just outside of Seattle, and we're about 7 miles from Microsoft in a very high-tech corridor, which is now also includes Google, and Amazon is located in the area, so a very, very high-tech sector. We can't begin to meet the demand for a skilled IT workforce. We had a bit of a downturn like everyone did in about 2002, but now the demand is huge for a skilled workforce, so we continue to serve that community. Our students, we have primarily over 60% white students at the college, a large Asian American population and a smaller African American population. And the numbers also do include Hispanic students, under the white students. We have over 1,000 faculty, including full and part-time, and we are the Washington State Center of Excellence in Information Technology. In Washington State, we have a program that really doesn't exist, I believe doesn't exist in any other state, where we have designated centers of excellence representing different industry sectors. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And we are now offering applied baccalaureate degrees, and that is when we switched our name to Bellevue College. And these are degrees that allow individuals who have completed associate professional technical programs to move into baccalaureate programs, and we offer several at the college, and we're growing that. We've had 16 years of funding from NSF, which has just been absolutely wonderful for the college, a number of projects that have really made a difference and an impact at our college and for our community. Our National Workforce Center, it started out as the Northwest Center for Emerging Technologies, and after a few years we changed it to a National Workforce Center. It allowed us to keep the same acronym and the same brand, which was great. We had Microsoft and Boeing were key partners. We even built a new building on the campus, a public-private partnership called our N building, and NWCET was located there. Both Microsoft and Boeing contributed cash to building that building, so it was a great partnership. AACC was a partner on our NWCET funding through the Working Connections program. Many of your faculty may participate in that program. It's still ongoing in various parts of the country. We had a partnership from the American Electronics Association, CompTIA, and a large number of universities and community colleges over the years. Our seminal work that we did through NWCET were the skill standards for IT. The last edition was published in 2003, but this is when the IT profession was really just being developed, and there really weren't any skill standards. And as most of you know, the skill standards were pretty popular back then, late 90s, 2000. Most industry sectors developed skill standards to initiate new professions. So we published that, and it really kind of put us on the map at Bellevue College for developing those, and they were validated with many, many industry-focused sessions. What these skills standards were used at the time, we partnered with the University of Washington. They were designing a whole new computer science program. They used the skills standards to align community college curriculum with the university curriculum. So they were very important for that. And then many employers have used these in developing job descriptions for IT over the years. We also have, over the years, published IT trends assessments documents. We look at IT trends, and there's a couple pictures of the different trends documents. More recently, our Center of Excellence for IT, NWCET, we've sunsetted NWCET. Our funding ran out, and we've moved into some other areas that I'll talk a little bit about. But our Center of Excellence for IT Excellence still is in Washington State. We oversee that, and we've recently published Trends in IT for that. One of our great projects that we are still sustaining, part of it, is our STEM to STERN project, where we have you all have students who are in your science and your STEM programs, and they take a lot of different classes. What we found is we had difficulty helping students complete those programs, so we created a cohort approach. And every week, the students enroll in a credit course where they're in a cohort. They meet once a week with industry representatives. They do internships, and they're actually presenting in May at our Board of Trustees meetings in a study session. We are bringing in some of the students who are getting incredible jobs. They're going into engineering programs, computer science programs, and they're getting incredible jobs. So it's been a fabulous program. We've moved into IT for healthcare. Bellevue College has, in the last several years, received about $19 million in funding for a consortium of states for one grant, and then the state of Washington for another. So we are, for that project, Patricia Dombrowski and Dr. Elliott Sloan from Drexel University are the co-PIs. They're doing they've done a lot of great work. That grant is wrapping up. And this is a very exciting project because through this grant, we worked with the Health Information Systems Society, and we've actually created a new industry-validated certification for health IT technicians. And they have one HIMSS has one for upper-level managers, but not for the entry-level person. And as you know, health IT is growing significantly, many, many jobs in most states. So they just ran the first exam, and apparently went really well. So we were proud to be part of that process. We designed the curriculum to prepare people for the exam. One of the other projects, it's not an ATE project, though two I just mentioned were ATE, but under the undergraduate education program, Transforming Undergraduate Education, we have our ComGen project, and there's a photo there of Dr. Geeta Bangera from our campus. She has freshman, sophomore level students doing research on wheat, and we have a DNA sequencer, and they're actually doing actual research, and our students are doing poster sessions next to graduate students at conferences. It's an amazing program. Now we're scaling it up to include other college partners, and they're replacing the traditional biology lab with this research project the students are doing, looking at a different model for delivering biology education. That's been just an amazing project, and we are so happy we have Geeta on board. So we have a number of other NSF projects we've gotten over the years. The first one, the Center for Information Technology, was faculty development, real strong faculty development program. We've done updating our upper division skills standards, strengthening connections with industry, and our CPATH is in a computer science area. And it's very unusual for community colleges to get the CISE grants from NSF, but we partnered with the University of Washington, and we actually piloted a little online game-based program for math students, upper division math students, to tutor freshman, sophomore level math students, and we're hoping to grow that in the future, but we had an opportunity to pilot that through this particular grant. Sustaining grants, as I mentioned, we have our Washington State Center of Excellence for community colleges in our state for IT, and we are growing. That program continues to grow. That was developed as a result of our work, our NSF funding, our NWCET, and now we're state. The skills standards, again, are used significantly. Our STEM to STERN project, the cohort model I mentioned, trends assessment documents, and the KHIMS is the certification from Health IT is another product that is being sustained through our NSF funds. So on that note, I have my contact information here, and at the end, after questions, if anyone would like to give me their card, I'd be happy to send you more information about what we're doing at Bellevue College. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about the impact of these projects in our discussion. Thank you.
Right, so be thinking of questions you'd like to ask Paula, and we'll run through everyone's presentation first, and then we'll open it up for questions. But just the one on Health IT for $19 million coming into the campus should spark, I think, a few questions from you.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Annette Parker, and I'm going to take a different approach at this presentation. We're going to look at the work in Kentucky from a systematic perspective. So we're going to look at it in terms of the 16 colleges in Kentucky and what are we doing with ATE. I'm here for the chancellor who couldn't be here today. And what's interesting about my experience with ATE, just so you know, and it might stem some of your questions, is I'm leaving as a PI of a national center, AMTEC, which we're going to talk a little bit about, and I'm a newly elected president effective July 1 in Minnesota. And so I think I'll look at it from both sets of eyes, that of the PI and that of a president that'll be very supportive of ATE. The Kentucky Community and Technical College System, I want to focus on our mission, because as we look at our work with ATE, we really want to be aligned with the system's mission and goals. And so we take a really careful look about what it is we're going to do with ATE to make sure that that alignment's there to help us further our strategic plans. And so our mission is to improve the employability and quality of life of Kentuckians, and we look at that from the area of workforce and college readiness, transfer education, and workforce education and training. KCTCS, or the Kentucky Community and Technical College System, is made up of 16 independently accredited colleges that make up approximately 68 campuses, and we are the largest higher education entity in the state of Kentucky. And I'm going to share some data with you that's based on our 2011-2012 data. We had a total FTE of, gosh, I can't read that. I must have made a mistake there, of 57,913 across the state. So we're looking at around 110 students that we impact every year. We offer 600 different credit programs, Associates of Art, Associates of Science. You can see the percentages there. I won't read those to you. Associates of Fine Arts, Associates of Applied Science. And we do offer a lot of certificates in Kentucky. We look at our programs of study as stackable credentials. Our Chancellor Emeritus is probably the biggest proponent of stackable credentials, and so we do offer a lot of them, but they build on degrees. Now, from a perspective of what all do we have in ATE in Kentucky, we've been blessed in the state of Kentucky with ATE projects, and so I'm just going to look at this from a big picture, because I found 37 ATE projects in regional and national centers that KCTCS schools are involved in over the lifetime of ATE, and many of them are still ongoing today. So I kind of want to just give you a smattering of what are we doing. For example, I'm going to talk a lot about the project or the center that I still run for the next few weeks, the Advanced Automotive Manufacturing Center, which has received a lot of attention. It's a very exciting center of excellence, and we'll talk a little bit about that. That center was awarded $5.5 million in 2009 and has been suggested for funding for renewal this year for, I believe, $3.2 million. We have another project called STEM Scholars, where we provide stipends for STEM students to get into, high school STEM students to get into college programs and get accelerated towards degree completion. Another exciting project we have is a mechatronics and innovation for rural technicians. That's a really exciting project we have with several of our KCTCS schools working together from our rural colleges that supports bringing up mechatronics technicians throughout the state of Kentucky. We feel that that's one of our high-wage, high-demand areas that needs a lot of attention, and we are working on that collaboratively throughout the state of Kentucky. And then we have a increasing math educators project in the state of Kentucky, working with our universities with professional development of K-12 and community college faculty, math faculty. And so those are all programs that really push us towards our mission and our goals of educating Kentuckians for high-wage, high-demand fields. And so with that, I'm going to take a little bit of a look at the AMTech Center and talk a little bit about it. AMTech is a National Center of Excellence in Advanced Automotive Manufacturing, and the history will give you a good idea of what it's all about. In 2005, AMTech was funded as a planning grant with ATE, and the questions that the National Science Foundation had for AMTech, it was a group of automotive manufacturers in about 9 states that were coming together that said, hey, we've got to have common standards, common curriculum, if we're going to sustain automotive manufacturing in the United States. It was largely led by Toyota initially. And so we convened this group of manufacturers from the Midwest and the Southeast, where the internationals were coming in, and that area was growing. And we asked, do you have an interest in us all coming together to make sure that we have really mechatronics technicians that can work in those high-tech environments of repairing robots, et cetera, that would sustain automotive manufacturing in this state. So, I mean, in the country. And so we had our first flagship meeting in April 2005. Everybody agreed this is great, and we moved forward with a project that was funded from 2006 until 2009. It was actually 2006 to 2008 with a continuation into 2009. And then in September of 2009, we received an award of $5.5 million as a National Center of Excellence. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about its work, because the question that NSF had was, can these manufacturers come together? And it was kind of hard to imagine Toyota and General Motors in the same room, okay? And so these are quotes directly from the auto manufacturers. And these statements are directly aligned to the goals of AMTech, and I'll share those with you in just a moment. They said, we developed a method called DACM with Delphi. You know, you guys have heard of that before. It was kind of new to the manufacturers, right? And then they said, we realized that good education and training is good for all of us. It's good for our workers. It's good for our students. It's good for the United States, okay? So we don't need to compete on our cars. So we can make sure that we're developing a curriculum that's going to support American workers having the right skills in advanced automotive manufacturing, okay? So we ended up developing AMTech curriculum we call our Common Core, and it has all of the technologies and processes that are not proprietary or specialized processes. It gives students the entry-level skills they need to take to the next level when they go into these jobs. So what goals did we agree on? There's 4, and I won't read them to you. I'll say goal 1 is all about curriculum and standards. It's very interesting that we're hearing that common theme throughout our work, okay? Goal 2 was to create successful career pathways, okay? So right now, the auto companies, what is the benefit for the Amtech schools in Kentucky and the other states that we work in? They're creating career pathways with paid internships for students to get skills that are putting them ahead. One interesting fact is we're testing the students at Toyota, these 19, 20-year-old students, and they're testing 14.9% higher than incumbents on things like electricity. And so the companies are really excited about it because they see the impact on their bottom line having these highly skilled technicians coming in at such a young age. Goal 3 goes back to the very question that NSF asked us. Can we all work together and not compete? And the way we do that is called Amtech Academies, where we come together around issues that are of importance to the educators and to the industry partners. And so they're jointly attended. We just had one last week in Smyrna, Tennessee at Nissan, hosted by Nissan and the Tennessee Technology Centers, and the focus was on career pathways. And every one of the partners were sharing their best practices on how they're doing that. And we're encouraging them to focus on paid internships, make sure that the manufacturers are involved with the students' lives in and out of school, to make sure that there's full wraparound services for these students as they make decisions that impact their lives. And then 4 is around standards, assessments, where we're assessing the students. I talked about the students performing better than incumbents, and then how do we measure ourselves and make sure that we're continuously improving our work. So what contributions have we made to the center and in general? And I think that's a big part also of what ATE is all about. There's some groundbreaking things that are going on in many of these centers, and these are the things that Amtech feel that they contribute to our community overall. To be able to bring competitors together for the common good, we feel is a strong, something that's really strong that Amtech has brought to the table. So landmark collaboration and strategic alliances. When I can have BMW call General Motors and say, now how did you do your pathway? And how did you work with your college? And make sure that it's impacting their communities, then that goes beyond even our goals that that NSF measures us on in terms of accomplishment. So we make sure that they have mandatory partnerships because we want everyone to learn and grow from each other, okay? One of the interesting things is now the companies can talk about career pathways. They can talk very eloquently about the issues that we face as educators every day, okay? And before it's like, okay, what's that acronym you have? And what's this acronym that we have? And now we're talking the same language. And that's a big deal. We use an efficient process and an innovative process of defining standards that makes sure that it's not something that just supports General Motors, but something that supports Toyota as well. So the Dacom-Delphi process that we use, for example, we were able to come to consensus of what is the common core for all automotive manufacturers and not just something that's specific to one plant or one company. And our national curriculum, it being aligned to our career pathways, we also feel is a special contribution. We also feel that the data-driven improvement processes that we use a balanced scorecard to measure our work, standardized assessments, And so all of you all are hearing this language about acceleration, modularized curriculum, competency-based curriculum. All of those things are developed into it, and we're following and making sure that we're in line with our balanced scorecard. Okay, so another contribution we had, and NSF was smart enough to tell us when we were awarded, they said, you guys have a really good project. Don't grow too fast. And when we started, it was about 12 colleges. This is where we are today. We're in 14 states, 35 community colleges, and 34 automotive-related plants throughout the Midwest and the Southeast United States. And we just got to that point about a year ago where we could develop an MOU and start growing that membership. And so we feel like we're making an impact in young people's lives and in our economy in those states. And so we feel like that's a big contribution. One of the things I also didn't mention that 13 of the colleges just received a AACC mouthful, right? We all know that one. For I think $20 million because they wanted to, if Amtech was suggesting modularized curriculum, competency-based instruction, open entry, open exit modularization, they wanted to develop the infrastructures in their colleges to implement that type of a model. And so that's what those 13 colleges are doing. So what does it mean to the students? Because at the end of the day, that's our customer. These are just some from our case study on career pathways. These are statements from some of our students. And this is really powerful. I'm just going to point out a couple of them. I feel like I'm more respected by being in the program, by their peers and their parents. Okay? I know what and where I'm going with my life while most of my friends do not. How powerful can that be? Okay? My internship was awesome. I applied what I learned in classes. Okay? So there's a couple of pages of that. I'm just going to now look at what industry said. We understand that these programs produce our future workers. We're very satisfied with the graduates and have no problem letting other companies know. Okay? We need to attract those students that are not going to college, right? Okay? Because there's this, there's this thought that community college students aren't going to college. Okay? It's almost a sarcasm there. We found that young men and women that we hired are amazing, and all they needed was an opportunity. So I'm going to end with that. Thank you, and I'll be open for questions later.
Good afternoon. I'm going to speak to the handout that was mentioned earlier by Celeste. The approach I'd like to take is that of a college that is recently competed for and is now implementing an ATE grant. I'm the college president, so I'm going to take that viewpoint for the grant. I'm also going to tell you a little bit about what the grant is doing on the ground. How many of you are senior managers, chancellors, vice chancellors, presidents, vice presidents? Okay. So you know this is a difficult time to take on a new initiative, isn't it? So why should you approach a project that's got this kind of daunting reputation of ATE? You know, look at what you just heard. Oh, Toyota, Microsoft. Well, yes, it has that kind of impact. But we're a community college in Los Angeles County. We're next to Cal Poly Pomona in the San Gabriel Valley. And we have some good resources for this grant. It's a cybersecurity grant because in the San Gabriel Valley is the Caltech and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. There's a lot of technology there. And consequently, we have a strong program to start with before we applied for the ATE grant. We had a strong computer technology department, and we had a very student-oriented department with a lot of national competition initiatives. So we felt like we had the expertise and we had resources in the community that would make us competitive. So one of the things we did to start with is pull some of that together and say, if we're going to compete for this, if we want to make this kind of an impact, and this is a national project, and we have the Western Regional Grant, and there's several other cyber watch grants throughout the country. I think we were the last one in the sequence, weren't we? Yes. So if we're going to do this for the entire West, we ought to see what resources we have as a college that we can pull together, what kind of connections we have, what kind of resources we have. And you really need a commitment from the college to do it. And we did. We had that together. And NSF was very helpful. They're very clear in how you approach these grants and how to write a good grant. There are writers' workshops, and there's a lot of support for how to do this. So we felt that, yes, this was an area where there was emerging jobs, there was a need for current technology, that community colleges did not have access to the curriculum and partnerships that would make us competitive. And this is an effort that goes beyond just training technicians. When the president in the State of the Union message talks about cybersecurity, that's something that you want to be a part of. And it's not just a program that's for the doctoral people who are writing secret codes and things like that. It takes technicians on the ground to make all of this work. So what is our program like? And what does it do for us? Well, we have 4 aspects of the program that are key. One is student development. And one of the things we do is we connect students with professional organizations, with the businesses that are partners with us, and with the national competitions of what we used to call hackers. I know that's not what you're supposed to call them, but they have competitions where there's offense and defense, where you try to protect your program and the other team tries to crack your program. And it's a very exciting thing for students. It puts them, this is the nerd group, okay, you know, but it's like the NFL of the nerds. I'm a scientist, so I can say that with impunity. Curriculum development, revision, dissemination is very important. And again, this is a national initiative, so we have partners in other parts of the nation that we share this work with, but the West Coast has some unique focus to add to this. One of the things that's really important to us in the technical areas and in the jobs at CTE areas is to be sure that we're developing a curriculum that's directly applicable to the jobs that are out there, to what the employers need. And in many of the things you've heard us talk about, these are rapidly evolving technologies that unless we're connected to the industry, who will talk to us, and this is the same message I want to tell you, because they don't know how to talk to us about curriculum and training. They will come to us and say, we can't find people to work in these jobs, and they don't know what to do about it, and they don't even know what to tell us to do about it. So we're partners in not just developing curriculum, but helping them understand the skills and abilities that they need in their employers. You heard that the recent employees have better skill sets than the one they hired before. We're experiencing that same thing. It's not because we're now so much better at teaching this and developing it. It's because now in this system, there's a communication between the employers and those of us who are doing the curriculum development. So we're getting it right on both sides of the equation. And as a community college, that's a great model for our other CTE programs in the college, to see that you've got one like this with the resources and the partnerships, and this is leaking into our other CTE programs. Hey, this model is working pretty well. We're going to use this without NSF funding to do the other work that we do. Faculty professional development is very important. and it's, in areas that like we're talking about, it's important that the faculty have an understanding of what happens on the workplace with the employer, so that the faculty have more than just an abstract or academic understanding of the field. They know the practical pieces. Because frankly, the way students who come to us in these programs learn is they learn by working on projects, working with their hands. And unless the faculty have that project-oriented approach, and you've probably seen this conversion in your own faculty, it's not so much academic anymore. They are doing project-oriented work, hands-on work, and integrating the theory with the practice. I don't know any other way to convince my faculty to stay on top of things as this project has done. And again, it's leaked into other programs so that we now have a campus-wide CTE professional development model that really works well in keeping us on top of things. Outreach and partnership development. Without the NSF emblem, we would have had trouble attracting people in and getting them to seriously talk. Not maybe the Ford and Toyota level of problem, but nevertheless, there's a lot of proprietary work that's done in the security systems and getting people to work together and understanding. We're not asking you to disclose industry secrets or anything like that. This is at the technician level. What are the key elements that are necessary from your standpoint? The other real solid benefit is internships. It's really difficult. Even today, you think with a highly skilled CTE person, no problem finding a job. But without job experience, it is difficult to find a job. And to have these connections with the employers, to have these professional societies involved and doing the national competition really helps the students get employed. So what have we achieved? And this is, again, we're just in the second year of the grant, so 50 partnerships, we're doing well with that. The high school partnerships, harder for us. The high schools are harder to bring into this. This is where we're going to need some help, I think. Partnerships with business and industry. The toughest partnership is the high school area. The impact, I mentioned some of that. We have a robust program at the college that's moved into other areas. We've got curriculum that we share with other community colleges and with other universities. We have partnerships with the universities and the high schools. We're working with the LA Community College District, but some of the other ones are harder to work with. There's 978 high school districts in California alone. Wow. And they've disinvested in CTE. So to bring it back, we're doing after-school programs, and we're doing business partnerships and summer academies. It's hard to get this stuff into the core curriculum of the high schools, but we're working on it. The next generation's science standards are going to be a big advance to this. And if you hadn't heard about that, really get on board with this in your partnerships with the high schools. It's got this project-oriented, hands-on learning style. I'm a chemist by training, and we have a group in California called the California STEM Learning Network that's promoting California to adopt these standards. Lesson learned and advice to those of you who are out there. The grant provides innovative new ideas to implement. Sometimes you don't know where to go with new ideas and development. This is a way to do that. We have data for the programs that the college is considering in its own development. For example, we were about to build a business and computer technology building. We've learned so much from this program that we're going back and we're redesigning the building to match the delivery that we've learned how to do. And very timely. If we would have built the damn building a year before, that would have been hard to do, but the timing for us is good. It enhances the programs that the faculty want to build. And I want to emphasize that. These are things that the faculty want to do, and we're giving them the resources and the energy to do what they want to do. The sustainability, we've integrated the curriculum into our college, and we require our partners to make that same kind of a commitment. We have a security awareness conference. That's a West Coast conference. We've done 2 of them already. Amazing stuff. That's very, that conference actually makes money, so I know it'll sustain itself. And we are looking at online training for cybersecurity faculty and professionals. So as we learn, it's a technologically based field. We're doing a lot of kind of on-the-ground stuff that we know is not sustainable, but we think this professional development training model can be something that will be sustained online. Where can we use some help? We're in our second level. We're having a little trouble marketing the program, getting out to the broad range. It's a big area, and I know your advice was expand slowly. So but we're anxious to do that. So we're taking on partners that are real serious about it, and we think that'll work over the lifetime of the grant. It's nice to know you've had a couple of extra years. I hope that we have the same to do that when we get to the point, because it's slow. Promoting national recognition. This is not an area where community colleges are the first you think of when you think about cybersecurity, but yet it's so important. Actually, my son works in this area, so I have another insight into this. It's hard to get the fact that you've got a community college education to be, because the perception is it's a topic that the skills are beyond community college. It's really not. And then to get the AAS degrees as part of the culture of industry hiring. I know that's an overall problem, but we're hoping that there's some sort of a way that the NSF seal of approval helps the employers say that, yes, this is a program that has high national standards and that this level of training will assist. And I have to say, even though California has been really hit hard by the recession, we have a lot of unemployment, our own college budgets are challenged, this has been a project that has caused investment of energy, time, and talent, and the resources have been good, particularly the ability to bring partner resources to the table to get a lot of this done. Thank you.
All right. So let's thank our panelists. And I think if I shut this, it'll just turn off. So hopefully you've been thinking of some questions. I had a few to sort of start the discussion going, but some of them you guys have actually already answered. And so let me first of all just say, you guys have been sitting there listening, right? This has been sort of a passive presentation so far, so I'd like a little bit of participation. Who has a question that they would like to ask generally of the panel or any one person in particular? Yes, please. All right.
It was interesting. Years ago, we applied for, the state of Washington had high demand grants, and we applied for a grant in medical informatics because we saw that as a new field that was emerging, and no one really knew what it was, and we were trying to figure that out ourselves, and fortunately we received some state funding for that. In terms of where we've gone then with it, it's really working closely with industry. The healthcare sector was trying to define that as well, and what type of skills do IT technicians need to implement the electronic health records? And then, of course, with President Obama's healthcare reform, a huge amount of funding went in through the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act for health IT, and we started working with the Office of the National Coordinator for Health IT and received a $6.8 million grant to lead a 10-state consortium in the Northwest. So we started to build, 8 years ago from this medical informatics, and then as we saw the field emerging and the demand emerging, then we applied for the ONC funding and received Office of the National Coordinator funding. And then the NSF funding allowed us to really further develop curriculum and then the national certification exam. And now, and I'll go a little bit beyond, we just received one of the DOL AACC grants in health IT and we're working with 8 colleges in the state of Washington, and Northern Virginia Community College is also a partner. We're designing a health IT apprenticeship, federally registered apprenticeship through the Department of Labor. So it's grown into this very large entity that we didn't expect. And an offshoot of it, one of the challenges in this field is the vendors aren't real giving right now in terms of providing low-cost software or any software for students to use to practice. So Dr. Elliott Sloan, who is a partner on our NSF grant, is working with us, and we're developing what we're calling a sandbox for students to be able to practice health IT. Because the vendors right now, they have so much business, they don't need to help us right now. I think they're being short-sighted, but maybe someday. Microsoft and other companies have always been very generous in, grooming that next generation of Microsoft or Apple users, right? But we're not seeing that in health IT, so we're having to create something. So it's really evolved into this major project, I think, that a whole program in itself, and we're working with a lot of partners nationally.
More questions? Yes.
Question about internships. Each of you mentioned internships being a really core component of each of your programs. And there was one quote that really struck me. I think that it was one of your industry quotes that said, we need to attract students that are going to college, right? I think you can say, like, as our community college students were going to college. So there's, already this perception out there. So I wonder if you guys could talk a little bit about the challenges that you guys faced in placing our community college students into these technical internships, and maybe some of the tactics that you guys use to help get over some of the challenges.
What we did in AMTech is we really, through our academies, et cetera, and our research, made the companies aware of the challenges we face in higher ed, to make sure that we have a pipeline from the K-12 and that they come in prepared for college, college ready, and those types of challenges. And so over the years, the companies, for example, one of the other things they said is, we didn't know if we needed career pathways. Now we understand we're ready to go. And so what the AMTech industry partners do is they're now involved in the recruiting of the students. They go down, and some of the manufacturers are going down into elementary school and working with the schools in their districts to make them aware that these are good career opportunities for these young people. We also encourage and promote, and it's pretty much going that way with all of the manufacturers, paid internships. We don't want just internships, we want them paid, and we want it aligned to their programs of study. So when they're learning a specific objective at school, they're also applying it in at work. And so it's not, we don't want something that's not totally aligned that way. And so the companies have done a really good job at doing that. And they're paying these students, so these students are not completing college in debt. They don't have loans. The other thing that's really good about our internship program is that we had a couple of kids that might have challenges with, I'm going to give you an example. We had a young lady that had some challenges in math at one of the schools. Well, she was assigned a mentor from the company to help her with her math, okay? And it was told that this is your responsibility, and we try to make sure that alignment with the mentor and the mentee is good to help this young lady with her math. And so it's giving some of the responsibility to the industry partners to help with the young people.
Paula or Bill?
A lot of the same things that Annette shared, but we are also, We have over 2,000 employers in our database of employers we work with at Bellevue College. We're in a large metro area, so there are many, many employers in the area. But we have a lot of employer representatives who volunteer their time. They come in and they do mock interviews of students, help them, they review resumes of the students, and then we have an online mentoring program where either face-to-face or online, but we're seeing more and more industry representatives who say, well, I'll give 10 hours a month to do online mentoring of students. So we try to groom our students and prepare them ahead of time. And then we have dedicated staff. We fund through, our Perkins funding at the college. We fund full-time staff to manage our internship program because we really need to leverage that funding. It's such an important part of helping students get jobs. So they spend a lot of time working with employers and trying to develop new internships for students, as well as work with our faculty to help them as they supervise students and internships.
If I could just add one more thing, because you asked another question about the sarcastic remark about not being college students. And again, that goes back to helping the business community understand the challenges that we have as educators, and then they begin to be a part of the solution. And so that's really what we work with them to do.
Well, for our Cyber West grant, we have partners who work with us, and that helps a lot. But there's a couple of other things we do. I mentioned this symposium. It's called a Security Week, and what we do is we invite the public, and we go out and contact companies in the area and our partners who have clients. And we do what we call a security audit. That is, we work with a company to see, you think your data is secure? We'll have one of our students go and see whether your data is secure or not. And of course, it's an eye-opening thing. And to see our students go in, see that their data is not secure, give them some simple things they can do to make their data more secure. Then we also, in the Western region, all our colleges send teams to the Western Regional Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition, the Pacific Rim Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition, and the National Cyber League Competition. And our team has consistently won that competition, and our partner colleges place very high. So, that gives a lot of credibility to the skills that we're competing against universities and beating universities, so they're seeing that the technical skills are there. So I think it's good to have for internships the partners and people to know you, but also you need a little bit more than that. You need to get over this, it's not really a college thing, and develop some high-profile things that show that you're really a leader in this field.
And I'd like to just make one real quick point, take off my NSF hat for a moment and step back and say I was a faculty with a biotech program. I had enough students that I couldn't place them all in internships myself. So I actually put the responsibility on them and made sure that during the course of the first 2 quarters of the year that they got the skills and competencies that they needed to understand how to prepare their resume, how to research a company, how to go out and sort of get past the secretary who doesn't want to actually even take your resume from you, right? To initiate that. And one of the things I found, and I think we'd all agree with this, is how incredibly innovative and creative our students are. They came up with companies and got internships that were just phenomenal all the time. And it wasn't, a lot of times they'd come in and they'd say, well, I'm working for so-and-so genomics in wherever. And I'd say, whoa, really, what's that company do? I'd never even heard of them. And they'd give me the whole rundown on it. They also had a great idea, and I can't take credit for this, it was a student who said that, in terms of marketing. I'd never thought of this. They said, there's public relations and advertising classes taught on our campus. Why aren't you partnering with the faculty who teach those courses and having the students in those courses develop portfolios of marketing and outreach activities for your program? And I kind of went, duh, that's a great idea. So I wanted to add that in. And I know we got another question.
Real quick, the criteria for students to get into various programs, is it just open activity on the stuff? Number 2, what's the accountability? You mentioned a little bit on the students within the
Well, if the students go into, I'm going to give you an example. If they go into the internship at Toyota, they're making a 2-year commitment. They start the students at $12.50 an hour. They go to school 3 days a week, and they work 2 days a week. And they see these students as their future workforce, and plan to have them be Toyota team members forever if the students want to. But they also understand that the students are kind of exploring the area, and it's okay if they don't. Now, what's really cool about the Toyota project is now it's expanding out in Kentucky, in Georgetown, Kentucky. It's the entire region. And so Toyota's providing the internships, working with other small manufacturers throughout Scott County in Kentucky, and those students are getting the same quality experience that they would at Toyota for other smaller companies. And so they're all teaming up and putting these students in internships and being a part of the same program. So that's a little bit about an example.
Our cybersecurity certificate and degree is a regular CTE program at the college. It's open enrollment. You have to do well in the beginning classes to meet prerequisites to get into the advanced classes and to get into the internships and partnerships. But it's an open enrollment program like almost all of our CTE programs.
And let me just say mine is too, I'm sorry. Toyota does want an 18 on the ACT though.
And how about retention? Because I can say, if I could get students through the door in my program, I didn't lose them unless it was companies cherry picking them out before they actually finished the program.
Yeah, that's the problem with leaving the program before they complete, because the skills are needed so much.
And with the companies, the associate degree is the benchmark. And so the students are not going to stay unless they stay in the program. They also have to keep us at least a C. The students are doing much better than that, though, because they get help from the faculty and from the employer.
Yeah, we're seeing a trend certainly in IT where they really need, for a lot of jobs, the entry level is baccalaureate now, but they can still get some entry-level jobs with the 2-year or certificate program. So what we're seeing in Washington State with the baccalaureates being offered at community colleges is there are about 7 colleges now that are designing baccalaureate degrees, so pathways for the students. And then at the other end, we have our integrated basic education skills training, IBEST, where students are taking their basic skills, whether it's language or adult literacy, along with their professional technicals. So we're trying to build that complete pathway across our state. And that's going to be our next TAA grant in the state.
Okay, so one more, and then
Yes.
I know we're running out of time here.
Have any of you implemented models where you actually have a team teaching, but working across the curriculum in manufacturing or science or IT environment, and the project now related to that environment?
I just mentioned the IBEST, it's done at that level. Yeah, basic skills and then pre-college, but not at the college level yet. But that IBEST-like model is growing in our state.
And we're part of the JFF. We were awarded, Kentucky was awarded the JFF Accelerating Opportunity, which Washington State's one of our mentors, that we're doing it with the ABE, but we're also now implementing it into developmental ed across the state. And so, and then at each school, there is a career coach and a success coach to support those students. And so it's more systematic through the system that we're providing those services. And then once they get to the level that they're college ready, they can go into these programs.
We don't do that at the associate level, but at the certificate level, ACT Work Keys, which has applied math and et cetera, is taught by CTE faculty and teamed with disciplined faculty around the college. And we use the WIN Keys curriculum. Some of it's taught online and some of it's taught in the classroom. The ones that work best are the contextualized ones where we help students advance to the work keys level that fits the occupation that they're going into.
So thank you all for attending, and I know a lot of you said you already had funding, so please go out and spread the word that applying for funding and looking at these various programs is an excellent thing to do, even in economically tough times when, as Bill mentioned, it can be a tough thing to get a new initiative off the ground. And let's one more time thank our panelists.